Welcome to Our Girl Relationships. We talk about the problems people face in their day to day lives. Let's start with the video.
I'm 25, female. My mom, 52, has been married 3 times before, and I always thought she would have learned her lesson by now. But apparently not, because she recently announced that she was engaged again and planning to tie the knot for the 4th time. Normally, I should have been happy for her and supportive, but this situation was different. My mom had a history of abandoning me and my sister when we were young. She was always chasing after her next husband or boyfriend and never had time for us. Ever since my mom's first husband, the father of my sister and me, died when I was still a kid. So when she came to me with a sob story about how her wedding plans had fallen apart and she needed me to help pay for a new venue and catering, I was skeptical. I didn't want to be a part of her 4th wedding, especially when she hadn't been there for me all these years. Her requested amount wasn't small either. She asked for $8,000 since she knew that I have a stable job and I'm currently saving up so I can go to college like I always wanted. She was sure I had a good amount of money saved up, so she felt entitled to it. At first, she pleaded and begged me to help her out, saying that she would pay me back as soon as she could. But I knew that was just a lie. She had always been irresponsible with money and never kept her promises. She had her hair salon and most of her clients were well off, so she made a good amount of money. But over the years, she kept gambling and wasting her money on alcohol and clothes. She was always more concerned with her looks and her addiction to gambling, drinking, and men than paying attention to me and my sister. So I decided to write my mom a check, but instead of giving her the full amount she requested, I decided to give her just $150. Why exactly $150? Well, it is not like I couldn't afford to give her any more money, but I remembered how, when I was 16 years old, I had my first job at my mom's hair salon. I spent the whole summer cleaning up the salon and serving drinks and snacks to my mom's clients. After 3 months of hard work, I was excited for my mom to pay me the previously promised salary of $1,000. My mom handed me a handful of dollar bills. After counting them, they amounted to exactly $155. When confronting my mom about the $1,000 she had promised to give me for all my hard work, she simply told me that I should be grateful for what I got and that the $155 she gave me was better than nothing. She said that other families had their kids help out for free all their lives and that you should be grateful for getting anything, since we were family and my mom had to buy me food and pay for my rent all the time. She also said that she couldn't afford to pay me more, but I knew that that was just an excuse for her to pay me much less than she would have had to have paid any other real employee. My mom had just used me for cheap labor. So on the check that I gave her, I also wrote her a little message. It read, "You should be grateful for getting anything," next to the amount of $155. I just put the check in her mailbox this morning because I was a bit scared of her reaction. I am currently waiting on her response. I'll update once she calls me. So I got the call from my mom a few days ago. She was furious. She couldn't believe that I had only given her $155, especially when she had requested so much more, and she knew that I had much more savings available. She called me and yelled at me, demanding that I give her the full amount. But I stood my ground and told her that this was all she was getting from me. I don't think she fully understood the meaning behind why I gave her this exact amount instantly. A few days went by and my mom didn't reach out to me. I assumed that she was still angry with me, but then I got a call from her. She was crying and apologizing, saying that she realized how poorly she had treated me and my sister over the years. She said that after looking at the check with my written message again, it finally clicked and she understood why I only gave her $155. She admitted that she was ashamed of how she had treated me when I was younger. I was taken aback by her sudden change of heart, but I decided to give her a chance. We talked for a while and she promised that she would make it up to me and my sister. She even said that she would try to save up more money in the future and help me pay for my college tuition, something that she had never even considered before. I'm cautiously optimistic about my relationship with my mom going forward. While I'm glad that she's finally realizing her mistakes, I'm still hesitant to fully trust her. Only time will tell if she changed or if this is just another one of her short lived phases. But for now, I'm willing to give her a chance to prove herself. Unfortunately, my happiness was short lived. My mom and I had been spending more time together. Since her wedding was getting closer, we did some preparations together, like organizing the venue and calling restaurants to find the best catering place. My mom seemed excited about her big day. At first, I was happy for her, but as she started talking more about the big wedding plans and I calculated all of the expenses, I began to notice something was off. She was acting secretive about where the money for the wedding was coming from, and I started to suspect that something fishy was going on. Then, a few days ago, I overheard her talking on the phone with her fiance, Aaron. They were discussing the wedding expenses, and he mentioned that he had maxed out his credit cards to pay for everything. I was shocked. My mom has her own business and makes a good living, so there was no reason for her fiance to be footing the bill, especially since I overheard my mom telling Aaron that she was completely broke. Meanwhile, my mom had been spending money left and right on new outfits and drinks and even gave me money for my college savings, which I had been grateful for. I started to do some digging, looking into my mom's past relationships and her financial history. My mom had a long history of marrying wealthy men and then taking all their money. She would use her charm and charisma to win them over, then drain their bank accounts before leaving them high and dry. She had done this 2 times before, and it seemed that Aaron was just the latest victim. Learning all of this was a huge shock to me. I couldn't believe that my mother was capable of something like this. Most of all, it broke my heart to think of the pain my mom's fiance must be going through. He was genuinely a good guy, and he didn't deserve to be taken advantage of like this. I knew I had to do something to help him, but I didn't know what. But at the same time, I can't just sit back and let her hurt innocent people. It's not fair to Aaron, who deserves to know the truth before it's too late. I'm conflicted about what to do. I feel like I'm stuck between a rock and a hard place. I can't lose my mom again after I feel like she's present in my life for the first time. In the end, I know I have to do what's right. I can't let my fear of the consequences stop me from doing the right thing. I plan to talk to my mom and try to convince her to come clean with Aaron. If she refuses, then I'll have to tell her myself. It's not going to be easy, but I know it's the right thing to do. After much thought, I decided to confront my mother about her deceitful actions. It wasn't an easy conversation, but I made it clear that I couldn't stand by and watch her hurt another innocent person. When I first brought up the subject with my mother, she was defensive and denied everything. It was clear that she didn't want to admit to what she had been doing. But I didn't back down. I told her that I had evidence of her scams and that she needed to come clean. Eventually, my mother broke down and confessed everything. She told me that after her first husband, my father, died 20 years ago, she just felt this void inside of her that could never be filled. Instead of working on herself or going to therapy, she tried to distract herself by drinking, and she also developed somewhat of a gambling and shopping addiction. That's when she started seeking out wealthy men from her hair salon, clients of hers, and flirting with them to get access to their money. That's why all of her past marriages had broken down shortly after they started. My mom was just after the money of these guys. She said that she never intended to hurt anyone, but she felt like she had nothing else in her life to make her happy but money and material things. I felt sorry for my mother, but at the same time, I can't excuse her behavior. Taking advantage of people for personal gain is never acceptable, in my opinion, no matter how hard your own life is. I made it clear to her that she needed to make things right and stop her scams immediately. Together, we came up with a plan to repay Aaron for everything he already spent money on and make amends for the harm she caused. My mom talked to Aaron and confessed to him the real reason why she was rushing to get married. Their wedding is no longer going to happen, and I don't think that their relationship will continue since it was built on lies. My mom promised me that she will work on her addictions, and we agreed to do some sessions of family therapy together with my sister. All of us probably still have some buried trauma and hurt feelings from the past, and I hope that we can work on this as a team. After all, we're all that we got. Now that my mom is single again, I guess. In the end, I don't regret giving my mom that check, and I'm glad everything turned out the way it did. I learned that sometimes the hardest thing to do is the right thing. It took a lot of courage to confront my mother, but it was necessary to prevent her from hurting anyone else. I'm grateful for the experience, and maybe my story can help others who may be struggling with similar situations. While it's nice that OP's mother apologized and promised to make amends, I'd recommend the OP to still be cautious and hesitant to fully trust her again, given her history of making empty promises. The way that OP handled the situation with the $155 check is passive aggressive and immature in my eyes. While it's understandable that they would want to send a message to their mother about the past, using a check to do so seems like a childish way of communicating. It might have been more productive to have a direct conversation with the mother about their feelings and concerns. I think giving OP's mother a $155 check and the message attached to it was such a clever way of expressing her feelings towards her mother's past actions and treatment. I think the mom needed something like this as a wake-up call. It was my sister-in-law's birthday recently. She turned 16. She got a huge party, but my husband wanted to celebrate as a family. Backstory. I recently gave birth to my son, Quinn. He's 4 months old. I'm also 3 months pregnant. We tried for Quinn when I was 21 and my husband was 25, so it took us 3 years with no luck and tons of doctor's appointments. We thought we'd have to use a surrogate or adoption when suddenly I was pregnant. I'd been told it was unlikely I'd get pregnant to imagine my surprise getting pregnant so soon after giving birth. This pregnancy has been hellish. I mean, I've been pregnant for essentially a year with no break. I get that it's my fault, but as I said, I didn't expect it. It's not been smooth sailing this time. I'm exhausted, nauseous, emotional, and just overall unhappy. Like pregnant women get mood swings, but I don't. I'm just sad. I'm talking to a therapist. We'd planned on meeting at a restaurant when I started getting really nauseous, bad stomach pains. I, without being graphic, was sick over myself, so I had a bath and the pains went. My husband rearranged the meal to ours, so the meal was hosted in our home. Now, granted, he cooked and cleaned, but I've just given birth and I'm pregnant. I don't want anyone in my house. He insisted I come eat with them, so I came down in comfy clothes. I feel like a whale looking at my old, nice clothes. Mother-in-law made a remark that it would have been nicer for me to dress up, that I knew sister-in-law was inviting some friends, I'd been told it was family, and that I looked sick. I said, maybe, raising my voice, you try being pregnant for a year. I'm freaking exhausted. I'm in pain. She went silent. The meal was crazy awkward, and then my husband told me I have nice pregnancy clothes, that I could have asked for a plate to be brought upstairs, and he's just upset with me, saying I didn't need to make a scene and just explained to mother-in-law that I felt unwell, but didn't want to be absent. He says he changed it to ours, so I didn't have to be overly dressed, but still look nice. AITA? Excuse any grammatical errors, my brain doesn't want to cooperate. NTA, doing the math, it doesn't seem like you guys waited the 6 weeks your body needed to heal after your pregnancy. You needed that time for many reasons. Your husband is an AH for that. Your mother-in-law should be more sympathetic and made a scene. You just gave her one grandbaby and are about to give her another, and she can't cut you some slack. She is an AH for that. You need to take care of yourself and listen to your doctor first. NTA times 1,000. Your husband is, and his mother is. There is no freaking reason a sick pregnant mom with a 4-month-old needs to host a dinner, period. Mother-in-law's A-ishness is self-explanatory. Keep strong, Mama. I had a complicated pregnancy and had morning sickness my whole pregnancy. Love my Bob, but I hated being pregnant. Obligatory disclaimer. Other than when he would move, the joy of life, blah, blah, blah. So I can't imagine feeling the way you do, and then having to host a dinner, and then having your a-hole mother-in-law run her big mouth. And tell your husband to worry about his own frickin' clothes. I'm 19, male. My sister, Bree, 17, is a brat. My parents spoil her rotten, and if she doesn't immediately get her way, she'll throw a tantrum, and my parents will always give in to whatever she asks for. I wouldn't say she got in the way of me or our brother, 23, getting anything, but it was always really obvious who got more. My parents emailed me asking if I would be okay with doing a low-stress Christmas this year, as in nobody would get gifts from anybody else. We would just spend time together. I was fine with this since I don't want anything anyway, and it would make things less stressful, as they said. I called them to let them know, and they immediately told me what to get. Bree, I was confused and said, I thought we weren't doing gifts this year. My mom said, yeah, but Bree is different. You know how she'll get if she doesn't get something. Besides, she's still a baby. This made me mad, not because I wanted gifts, but because it felt like Bree was getting to be the favorite again. I hung up and looked on the family Amazon account, and they have already gotten her a brand new tablet, a bunch of accessories for it, a name brand giant makeup case, and loads of smaller things. I called them back and told them that I won't come home for Christmas unless I get a gift. It doesn't have to be even a fraction of what they spent on Brie. It could be literally the smallest thing. I just want one gift. They told me I'm being childish and they thought they raised me better. I told them that was the deal and hung up. I told my housemates that I might be staying here over the break, and when I explained why, they said I'm being immature and that my parents don't owe me anything because I'm an adult now. I told them the gift isn't the point. It's that Bree is obviously being treated differently from me, but they said it's because she still lives with them and is still a kid, and that I should grow up and stop being entitled. I think I'm justified, but now I wonder. AITA? NTA. The rules were no one gets a present, but now the golden child has to have a bunch of gifts, including gifts from everyone, so she doesn't get upset. Scratch that. For your own mental health and well-being, it's time to consider low to no contact with them. Don't keep setting yourself up to get hurt because your parents obviously favor your sister. Your parents obviously favor your sister. You're a whole 19. This "you're an adult" argument is ridiculous. She's always been favored even before you were 19. Your parents have made it clear they favor one child and that child exploits it to the fullest extent. There are people out there who may not be blood related to you, but will be better family than these people. Find them. Go live your life. Don't keep running back to people who make you feel less than because family. NTA, for wanting to be treated equally. Trying to communicate their behavior to them doesn't work most times either. No matter how old you are, your parents owe it to you to treat you better. You may not be entitled to a present, but it seems ridiculous that your own parents wouldn't do for you what they are doing for another barely younger sibling. I understand how it feels with direct siblings and stepkids, so no, hold your ground. Set boundaries for how you want to be treated. It's not about the presents. I see that. It's a build-up of everything. Stay strong. Have the greatest holidays. NTA, I can't see how any holiday with your sister could be considered low stress, especially with your parents enabling her. And they are wrong. At 17, she is not a baby. She is almost an adult. They just don't want to take responsibility for the monster they have created. This is why they are trying to put the guilt on you about raising you better, because they don't want to face the fact that they have completely failed